Hello and welcome everyone to UCLA. A beautiful day. I'm Robert Diers. Alongside me, Joshua and Christian here today. We're on National Sports Radio, and we're actually going to have a quick ad before we start. So we'll be back right after this commercial break.
Keep it clean with Clorox bleach. Clorox. Keep it clean.
Thank you, Nick Rice, for that commercial break. And we're going to move on here to some NBA topics. LeBron James going back to Cleveland. Joshua, how's that going to help out? How's that going to help out Cleveland this year?
I think that even before LeBron James went back, Cleveland had a good supporting cast and young players. And now that he went back, he reiterated that he wanted to come home. And this makes Cleveland a big. This makes Cleveland a big. This gives them a big push in the East, and hopefully they'll make it to the Eastern Conference Finals at least.
Christian, I gotta ask. They have Kyrie Irving. They still have an Andrew Wiggins on this roster, and they still have Tristan Thompson and an Anderson Varejao. Do you think that getting Kevin Love will help LeBron James?
I could definitely see Kevin Love falling in that roster. Anderson Varejao is pretty old, and he had a couple injuries, and he's not becoming that factor anymore that Cleveland used to have with Anderson Varejao. So I could definitely see Kevin Love taking his spot and having Anderson Varejao becoming a role player.
Obviously, they're going to have to pretty much give up some big key guys, but I think you're going to give up Anthony Bennett, probably Andrew Wiggins, and I think a first-round draft pick is probably fair to say in this situation. But let's move on here. We're going to go on to Paul Gasol going to the Chicago Bulls and saying goodbye to Kobe Bryant. Was it a good move for Paul Gasol, Joshua?
I think this was a great move with Paul Gasol. Derrick Rose looks very fresh and fit after his 2 knee injuries, and he's playing very well for Team USA right now. You factor in Joakim Noah, Kirk Hinrich did a great job last season. I think this Chicago team is loaded and could easily make it to the NBA Finals.
Christian, Paul Gasol, he says goodbye to Kobe. Kobe obviously is not happy with this situation, but I think the Paul Gasol and Joakim Noah duo is going to look pretty damn awesome this season.
Well, of course. Well, because Paul Gasol, he's still a double-double. He still averages a double-double. 17 points, 9 rebounds last season. Then you have Joakim Noah on the other hand. He was, I want to say, his Defensive Player of the Year last year?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Defensive Player of the Year last year. So, and then you also have a healthy D. Rose coming in, and then you got a nice lockdown defender in Jimmy Butler. So I can definitely see them winning the finals this year.
Obviously, there's a scrimmage for Team USA, and sad news to say, Paul George, you saw the knee, and not too pretty. He's going to be out for the whole year. Joshua, how is this going to affect the Pacers?
Well, Paul George was the key player for the Pacers. This is going to affect the Pacers greatly, but I think a great offseason addition was Rodney Stuckey from Detroit. He's going to have to average 20 points a game to keep the offensive numbers afloat because their top 3 scorers last season were David West, Roy Hibbert, and George Hill, a point guard that they were actually trying to get rid of in the offseason. So this injury will factor into the Indiana Pacers season, but hopefully Rodney Stuckey will take the workload.
Christian, they also lost Lance Stevenson during the season. He goes to the Charlotte Hornets. Big key loss there. To be honest, their down low guys are probably the biggest guys for this squad. What are they going to do up top?
Well, up top, they have George Hill. George Hill, he's not a star, but he's a good role player. And then as my man over here said that they just got Rodney Stuckey, and Rodney Stuckey's a good scorer for their team, so they're going to really need that.
Well, thank you all guys for listening to the National Sports Radio Station here at UCLA. Have a great day.
Okay, awesome.
It's the AL and NL West pennant, and still, it is a battle between 2 of the top teams in the entire Major League Baseball season. It's still August, but we are getting to the nitty-gritty here alongside Chris Sylvester and Miles Walker. I'm your host, Nick Rice, for In the Discussion here. And, guys, we're going to start with the Angels as this broadcast presented by Clorox Keep It Clean. Chris, we're talking about the Angels here, and obviously a huge game coming up tonight.
Yeah, big game. Angels won last night. They beat the Dodgers 5-0 behind a complete game shutout from Garrett Richards, his first in his major league career, first of a lot to come. Garrett Richards, a young pitcher on that staff, has kind of become the ace for the Angels this year. A big reason why they're only a game behind the Oakland A's, who have the best record in baseball. But tonight they face off against arguably the best pitcher in the game right now, which is Clayton Kershaw's ERA at 1.71, a spectacular number since the no-hitter. I think his ERA is under 1 in his last 10 starts or something crazy like that. So Angels, who have arguably the best offense in the game, are going to be going up against arguably the best pitcher in the game. So it's going to be a great matchup to watch tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. And once again, we have a scenario where if the Angels can somehow beat Clayton Kershaw tonight, and Tampa Bay can knock off Oakland, we're going to have a deadlock atop the American League West between the A's and the Angels.
Well, they didn't just beat them. They just threw them out of the park. I mean, last night, the Angels absolutely shellacked one of the better teams in the National League. And can you make a case at all for the Dodgers to come back strong in this home series?
Yeah, they still have some great pitchers going. Although one of their better pitchers, Greinke, got pretty roughed up last night, especially in the first inning. They still have a great chance to win this game. They have probably the best pitcher in the league going in Clayton Kershaw tonight. It's going to be very hard for the Angels to really get it going as they did against Greinke, but you really never know. So I feel as the Dodgers are going to have a very good shot in winning this game, and probably I'm getting the Angels. I'm closer between the A's again.
The Angels, you have to love the story, the comeback story. They were behind. They were dead to rights in the American League. They come back strong, but they still have a tough Oakland Athletics ball club that won last night. It's one of those type of games against the Rays, goes to extra innings. You got to win those type of games, and Oakland did it in the 10th. Your thoughts about the A's and if they can pull out another big victory against Tampa Bay?
Yeah, there's just some magic up there in Oakland. It's Billy Beane's kind of gone away from the Moneyball philosophy this year. They bring in John Lester at the trade deadline. They bring in Johnny Gomes, Sam Fuld, Jeff Samardzija, Jason Hamill. So you have a new flux of all these guys that are supposed to not only get Oakland to the playoffs, but lead them to the World Series as well. So Oakland's definitely a team that's not only built to make the postseason, but to get through the postseason. And that'll be interesting to see, because if they can't win the American League West, their season comes down to a one-game playoff in a wild card. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
And you feel really bad for the A's or the Angels, because one of those teams are going to end up in that situation.
Yeah.
And it's just really unfortunate, because those are the top two teams in Major League Baseball. It'd be almost embarrassing, I want to say, if it's the Oakland A's after all they've done to have their season come down to a one-game playoff. But definitely some magic up there in Oakland. Derek Norris, the big walk-off hit against former A's closer Grant Balfour last night. Let's see if they can keep it rolling against the Tampa Bay team that is almost waving the white flag by giving up David Price in the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they're looking towards the future. Definitely a team that is contending now for the playoffs, a surprise ball club, up-and-coming Oakland Athletics. They're just about ready to make their postseason push, alongside another team that is basically trying to put all their chips on the table for right now. We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Miles, LeBron James I'm sure he would love to have another guy like a Kevin Love in-house. Your thoughts about the potential trade from Andrew Wiggins to bring him in?
If they get Kevin Love, then they're easily my favorite to win for the NBA Finals,
Really?
personally.
Wow.
That's how much of a game changer Kevin Love is. And while Andrew Wiggins, he's going to have a very good year, regardless of whether he's on the Timberwolves or if he's on the Cavaliers, I feel as if he's not going to be as immediate a game changer as Kevin Love is going to be. I mean, he's going to bring in immediate rebounding, consistent 25 points. So he's easily going to be a great game changer for the Cavaliers if he goes there.
And very quickly, we got 30 seconds here. Basically, the big discussion along the Cavaliers is, do they want to put all their chips in now or the future? Wiggins would be that guy that 5-10 years down the road would be great. Good decision to bring Kevin Love in, or no?
I think so, because I don't think the window's all that big for Cleveland to win a championship. You bring in Kevin Love, you have a big three of Irving, James, and Kevin Love. I like this team heading out of the Eastern Conference into the NBA Finals.
This is the discussion presented by Clorox Bleach. I'm Nick Rice alongside Chris Sylvester and Miles Walker.
Welcome to Sports Guys and the Wizard on K90. This is Daniel Levy on my left, the sports wizard, and another sports guy with Carl. We'll be right after this special commercial break. This show has been presented by Goodyear. The best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them. Goodyear. And we are back. Our first topic of the day is David Price. He starts tonight for the Tigers. What is your perspective, Mr. Daniel?
I think David Price has to prove himself. He doesn't really have to prove himself. The Tigers got him in a steal, but I think he's got a new team. I think he's going to go out. I think he's going to throw real well. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does tonight.
Carl, how does this do in the Central?
Well, I think this is a big thing because while the Tigers did have a certain amount of lead in the Central, they do have a few games currently on the Royals. They do need a little bit of push because even though they were leading by a lot earlier in the year, the other teams have been there's been some runs at their lead, so this is a good way to solidify their win in the Central because right now with those 2 wild card spots, nobody wants to be in the wild card game.
I think we have a caller. Caller, what's your name?
My name is Brandon.
And Brandon, what is your question?
My question for you guys is, which team was better at the trade deadline, Oakland or Detroit?
Well, this is kind of a hard question to ask. Both of them went very hard in the arms race. Oakland getting John Lester and Jeff Samardzija. And the Tigers obviously getting David Price. I think Price was the better pitcher of the 3. Sure, the A's got some pitchers, but their pitching staff was already well enough, and they were just replacing guys. And I think having Price in that rotation for the Tigers brings it to a whole new level.
Yeah, I see Price as a major game changer for the Tigers. They've already had a pretty solid pitching staff, and they made some improvements, but I think David Price is going to be a real difference maker down the stretch.
I'm going to say that I actually like what the A's did more because the fact is that Yoenis Cespedes, while he may seem like this giant part of the offense, that a lot of it is his presence. He was 6th in offensive WAR on that team. The fact is that pitching staff just got from great to even better. They've got 5 solid starters, 5 guys who could be a 1, a 2, most places in the league. So when you have that great of a rotation, I think this team is easily the favorite to win the World Series.
Moving on. Isaiah Thomas goes to the Suns this year, but there are 3 point guards in Phoenix. Wait, that may be only 2 after Eric Bledsoe has contract troubles with the Suns. Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Eric Bledsoe is going to be returning to Phoenix. But on top of that, Phoenix is really stocking up on point guards. I look for them to rotate them out, keep their guys fresh, and I think that Phoenix is going to do a great job this year, especially with the upgraded point guard position. And they've got a really deep position now, and I think that's going to pay off really well for them.
What say you, Carl?
Well, the thing is, Eric Bledsoe turned down a 4-year, $48 million contract. That's $12 million per year for a player who is established but not that established. I'm amazed he turned this down because the league sources are saying that was a very, very fair deal that he turned down there. It kind of makes me question him if he's going out there trying to get this much money. And with Phoenix already having 2 point guards, honestly, at this point, Phoenix may need to walk away.
Next topic. Trouble in the Windy City. Daniel's got the scoop.
Well, Martellus Bennett snapped at Kyle Fuller in training camp after interfering with him making a catch. He body slammed Fuller in the huddle. He's been suspended indefinitely by the Bears. It's not looking good. If I'm the Bears, I'm ashamed of Martellus Bennett. I'm even maybe looking to bring in some other talent at the tight end position because this guy is he's now officially a head case, and I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from him.
Carl?
Well, the thing is, after he did this, he said not to sound like Allen Iverson, but this was just practice. Well, the thing is, it's also your teammate. This is not in the competition against some other thing. If you hurt this guy, he's your own player.
Exactly.
That's all we have today on the Sports Guys and the Wizard. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to SoCal Sports on DRN 1280. Coming up today on the program, we look at the NBA rookies. Who has the best chance of dethroning the Seahawks? Who will live up to expectations more, the Bulls or the Cavaliers? And Brian Scalabrine. But first, we go to commercial.
AT&T Uverse, TV, internet, and home phone. $79 a month for 24 months with 1-year term.
All right, thank you for that. We're back here on SoCal Sports with Nick and Ryan. All right, let's start with the NBA. Who has the best chance of being the Michael Carter Williams of the draft this year, this season, and who's the Anthony Bennett?
Well, I think, even though Michael Carter Williams was drafted lower than this player, I believe Jabari Parker has the best chance of becoming sort of the Michael Carter Williams and piling up the stats because he is on a pretty bad Bucks team, and so he will get to the stats along with Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think that's my pick to win the Rookie of the Year.
All right. What about you?
I agree there, but I think 2 sleepers could be Noah Vonleh for the Hornets, or
Yeah.
now the Hornets, who the power forward was a steal down at number 9, or Dante Exum out of Australia.
Yeah, I see Dante Exum as a combo guard, but I see him more. I'm waiting. I want to see if he can mesh with Trey Burke because they both want to pass the ball.
All right, we have a caller on the line. Where are you from?
I'm from right here in UCLA, actually. My
All
name is
right.
Brandon. I have a quick question for you guys.
Sure.
Where do you think Andrew Wiggins falls in terms of the Rookie of the Year conversation? Because he's obviously the #1 pick, highly regarded player. Do you think that he can beat out Jabari Parker for those honors?
It's a good question.
Well,
Ryan, you
I-
take this?
I think, yes, Wiggins will eventually make a splash in the NBA, but the teams only wanted him because of the potential he raises. He has the highest ceiling probably in the NBA. He could be the greatest of all time if he puts the work to it, but right now I don't think he could win the Rookie of the Year.
Quickly?
Yeah, I think right now Jabari Parker. My pick of Jabari Parker is mostly because he is the most NBA ready game and body. So as Andrew Wiggins is he's more of an athlete, not so much of a basketball player.
Exactly.
All right, thanks for your call, Brandon.
Absolutely.
All right, just real quickly, we need to move on, but quickly, you're Anthony Bennett, maybe the guy who's picked kind of high and kind of falls a little bit. Maybe doesn't live quite up to expectations.
I think maybe he's not necessarily a bust, but I think maybe I want to see what Doug McDermott can do because I don't know if his game is really gonna translate from college where he was like a big time scorer. If his athleticism can hold up against the NBA players.
All right, quickly.
I think this one might come as a shocker, but Aaron Gordon by the Magic.
Okay. All right, thanks. Quickly here in the NFC, who do you think has the best chance of dethroning the Seahawks? I'll start with you.
I think Seahawks have a very good chance of making it back to Super Bowl this year, but if there's any team, I think it's the Saints. They've really improved with their secondary, especially with the addition of Jarius Byrd in free agency. And yeah.
All right. Quick.
I think no doubt it's the 49ers. They're stronger, faster. I think they'll beat up the Seahawks this year.
All right, thanks. Moving on now to basketball again. Who will live up to expectations more, the Bulls or the Cavs? You know, the Bulls have Derrick Rose coming back. The Cavs, of course, have LeBron. So who do you think maybe won't be better, but who will live up to the expectation more?
I think probably the Bulls because the Bulls have, in my opinion, have lower expectations considering Derrick Rose has been out for the last 2 seasons, and the Cavs, everyone's expecting them to do very well because they're getting LeBron James, the best player on the planet.
Expecting that the Cavs get Kevin Love, which it sounds like that they have a handshake deal on now. I think, even though watching Derrick Rose playing for the men's basketball team, how he looks back to be maybe even better than he was, I think it will be a tight race to see.
All right, thank you very much. We got to wrap it up here quickly. Brian Scalabrine coming home. He's going to be an anchor on Sportsnet New England, so happy to have him back. For Nick and Ryan, I'm Daniel West for SoCal Sports. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. Now, what do you want to say?
Well, first thing is Wiggins, bust or not. I personally think he won't do very well in his first year, but he'll turn out to be a very good player. His defense hasn't evolved into what it could be.
Wiggins could be one of the best players, but in case if the Cavs trade him for Kevin Love, you're basically getting young raw talent for talent that's been in the league for years, and with that you get Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James. That's killer. I mean, even with Wiggins, it's still very good, but Wiggins, it's going to take a while. He's going to have pressure if he ends up playing with the Cavaliers, playing with James and Kyrie Irving, 2 of the best players in the league.
I think he made a great player down the road. Right now, he needs a little more experience in the NBA and also just game experience. He's young. He's just got out of college. So I think he needs a little more experience, maybe ride the bench a little bit more.
Now on to the trade deadline. Ioannis Cespedes, John Lester, and Johnny Gomes. I think that Johnny Gomes will fit great in this A's organization in the left field. He will be lights out. I mean, how many Johnnies have been traded so far? I mean, like 4 or 5. John Lester, he's been lights out. I mean, the A's are adding up for the playoffs. Sonny Gray, Kazmir, Samardzija, Hamels. I mean, they're just gonna blow out the competition. I think it's the Tigers and A's. Yoenis Cespedes, being the right-handed power hitter that he is, gonna tear up Fenway.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. They're stocking up on pitching. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with come playoff time. But both these players are old. Cespedes is younger. He'll have more time in the MLB. So I personally think it wasn't the stellar trade, but it was a good trade still for right now. But if you're looking to the future, I don't think it was the greatest trade.
But also, the Red Sox, Lester is open to signing with the Red Sox again. So I think the A's, all they're getting out of it is a good left fielder, because the Boston Red Sox get one of the best players in the league, and then they get Lester back.
Good point.
Now on to Vic. We're going into football. Vic or Smith for the Jets starting quarterback? What are your thoughts on this?
I got Smith. I think he's a better quarterback than Vic. Maybe more interceptions, but he's less injury prone than Vic.
Oh, we've got a caller.
Ooh.
Who is this?
This is Geno Smith from New York. I am so annoyed with the Jets organization. Can you guys please help me and vibe for me for why people think Michael Vick should be starting over me? I think this is ridiculous.
I think you should be starting, actually, because Michael Vick right now, under passing pressure, he's 30%. But when are you not under pressure in the NFL?
I actually think that I think that Vic should be starting, but if it ends up that he does maybe mess up during the season, you can always be the one to step in. There's no, even if he's injury prone, but if he gets injured, you're coming right back. I think Vic is going to give the team a better chance of winning for the entire season.
Your thoughts?
I think it should be Smith because he's a much younger franchise player for the Jets, and he can get them in the playoffs. Vic, I don't think he's done.
Well, thanks for calling, Gino. This has been DLC. This is
Eli,
Charlie Downey,
and Chandra.
Now a word from our sponsor, McDonald's. I'm not loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Thank you. Good night.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast to Coast Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Schnell, alongside Isaac Glasser and Ian Martin. We're talking about a bunch of sports today, but what are we starting off with, Ian?
We're going to start off with the NFL Super Bowl. What are our picks, guys? Isaac, let's start with you. Who do you think can replace either the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, or are those teams going to head back this year? Are they going to be back there again?
Well, it's going to be an interesting season. You know, we saw last year people thought, the Falcons and Texans are teams that are bound to be in the Super Bowl. They both finished with very, very poor records this past season, so it's all going to depend on injuries and things. But if I had to pick really early right now, my Super Bowl picks would be the Colts and the Seahawks. And the reason being that I think the Colts, they come into this year with the easiest schedule in the NFL based on strength of schedule measurements, based on how teams that they play finished last season. And then the Seahawks, because I think that although a team that's won the Super Bowl hasn't returned it there in quite a while, in a decade, the Seahawks are built to do that with a very young team, one of the youngest 5 teams in the NFL, and they have a lot to play for. So this is going to be an interesting Super Bowl.
Jeremy.
Well, you know what? I think the Seahawks are going to make it back to the Super Bowl, as Isaac said. But you know what? I think it's going to be a rematch of last year. Seahawks and Broncos. I don't see any other team that can bring what the Broncos bring to the table, as they have one of the best offenses we've ever seen, and their defense got better this offseason. So you're going to see these two teams be a force to be reckoned with in each of their respective conferences this year.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The additions of Aqib Talib and DeMarcus Ware and T.J. Ward, all to that Denver Broncos defense, along with the possibility of Von Miller staying healthy an entire 16-game season plus 3 or 4 postseason games, really could be a key addition to the Broncos defense, which was pretty lackluster in the Super Bowl where the Seahawks put up 43 points.
Well, what plagued them is that they had a lot of injuries, and I think the problem with players like Ware and Talib is that they've struggled with injuries in the past. And how much can we trust that Talib will play a full season? I don't think he's done it before. So we'll see how that goes for the Broncos. The problem is that they played their entire division, which had 2 other playoff teams last year. Plus, they play the entire NFC West. That's 6 against their division plus 3 against the NFC West. That's a lot of tough games.
That is.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to move on to baseball now. What do we think is going to be the World Series this year, guys? Isaac?
Oh, this is a tough one. A lot of great teams as we get closer to the end of the season. But this year, I like the LA Dodgers coming into the NL in the World Series, and I like them to go up against the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics are just really, really, really good right now. They've assembled an excellent bullpen, and the Dodgers, I think this is the year that they heat up.
Looks like we have a caller. Hey, sir. What do you have to say?
My name is Brandon. Just had a quick question for you guys. With the Tigers and A's jockeying for position, how big of a deal do you think the David Price trade was for Detroit to land him in the way that they did, not giving up very much for him?
Oh, I'll chip in on this real fast. It's a giant addition. When you have your worst pitcher of Justin Verlander, that means your rotation is pretty darn good. When you look at it, Max Scherzer, David Price, that might be the best 1-2 just by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Plus Verlander, that might be the best 1-2-3 in all of baseball. What do you guys have to think about this?
I think it was a great trade for the Tigers. They went out and gotten a lefty, and the A's went out and got a lefty. They got Price, and then the A's got Lester. So they're matching each other for every blow. And you know what? I think the Tigers are just a better all-around team. I'm sorry, but they're going to make it to the World Series, and it's going to be up for grabs in the NL. But I really like the Dodgers. Anyway, this show is brought to you by Chubbs. Right?
Definitely.
It's by Chubbs.
Sponsored
brought to you
by Chubbs. Advertising
Yeah.
company.
Anything else you want to say, Isaac?
No, I totally agree.
All right.
So are we gonna move on?
Yeah, I think that's it. We got.
We have our NBA. We're gonna do the
Just
NBA
really
championship
quickly.
real fast.
All right.
Let's just go.
You first.
Speed
Ian.
round, lightning
Let's
round.
Boom.
I think it's gonna be the OKC Thunder. As much as I hate to say it, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. This is their year. They're 2 of the best young players in the NBA. It's their time to shine. And in the East, I think it's LeBron James and Kyrie. I think they get it done in Cleveland.
Yeah, Clippers Cavs final, and I think Cleveland will pull it out.
I think it's going to be the Spurs this year, and I think it's going to be the Bulls. The Bulls just have too much. They went out and got Gasol this offseason, so I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the East. Thanks everybody so much for listening. I'm Jeremy Chanel. That's Isaac Glasser. That's Ian Martin. We are out.
Hello everyone. This is West Coast Sports Show, brought to you by Chubbs Advertising. Here next to me is my co-host,
Nick Kohler.
and also
Jason Goldstein representing the East Coast.
we have a great show for you today. We're going to go for some basketball, some baseball, and also some football, so get ready. Do you guys think, all know that Andrew Wiggins and Kevin Love got traded. Now Andrew Wiggins is a Timberwolf. Do you think he was worth the trade?
Personally, I'm completely against this trade. I honestly think Andrew Wiggins' career is pretty much now ruined and over, as he goes to Minnesota, where pretty much no one has blossomed since Love, and that was a rare circumstance. Everyone wants to leave Minnesota. Zach LaVine, when he got drafted by the Timberwolves, was almost in tears. I think this is a really bad thing for Wiggins, and I think he could have really developed and shined under LeBron, kind of played a little more of a supporting role, not necessarily had to step up, but now there's going to be more pressure on him to start right away and become that starlet.
What about you, Jason?
Well, the trade didn't happen, but it's probably going to happen by August due to
They
the...
shook hands.
They shook hands?
They shook hands.
Okay. But I am completely against this trade. There's a reason Wiggins was drafted number 1, because he's going to be a star in this league. He could have came right out of high school. I even heard scouts saying that he could be the next LeBron. Just imagine 2 LeBrons on a team with Kyrie Irving. Yeah, you get Kevin Love, who's been an established superstar. But Wiggins, he's a rookie. He knows what he can be. He can be better than Kevin Love. Love will score and get rebounds. Wiggins can do it all. I think Cleveland's making a big mistake by getting rid of Wiggins. Big mistake, and it's going to haunt them for a long time. Back to you, Chubbs.
I agree with you, because Kevin Love is a power forward, but they don't need it, because they already have Tristan Thompson. But their shooting guard isn't the best in the league. And with Andrew Wiggins, who's small forward but can play shooting guard, they have I've heard people say that the next generation's big 3, but now that won't happen. Even though they got Kevin Love, who is a franchise player, Andrew Wiggins, he'll have to get paid less money so they can save money. and he's quicker, and he's a smarter player.
And who knows if Kevin Love will re-sign after this season?
That's a good point. Okay, the second topic. Dodgers, Angels. Who's going to win?
I think tonight, the game that we're all going to actually, I think Clayton Kershaw pitching on the mound. I think that Dodgers are going to win. I mean, Clayton Kershaw's unbeatable. I believe, he's 10-0 in his last 10 starts, 4 complete games, including a no-hitter. I mean, this is a great Angels lineup versus a great Dodgers lineup, but they just have Clayton Kershaw on the mound. Hector Santiago isn't too good of a pitcher. I mean, I barely know who he is, and I'm a sports fanatic. I think that with Clayton Kershaw on the mound and a great Dodgers offense versus Hector Santiago, that the Dodgers should easily win this game. Obviously, I'm wearing Angels red, so I am a little biased, but this is a West Coast sports show, so I'm going to have some opinion. But I think the Angels are going to win, and I'm really looking forward to the matchup between Trout and Kershaw. It's just the most promising young players, maybe in the history of the MLB at such a young age, going up against each other first time, and I'm going to be there to watch it and see it in person. I wouldn't be surprised if Trout went 1 for 3 with a base hit or maybe a home run. And I think the Angels will probably take this game, but I think they'll lose the next 2, and it'll be a split series. And hopefully, just as an LA sports fan, we'll see this matchup again in the World Series.
I agree with both of you, but I think the Dodgers are going to pull it out, mostly because of Yasiel Puig and Clayton
Kershaw, yeah.
Kershaw, okay, got it right. Okay, both of those players are really good, and the Angels, they're not as good as the Dodgers lineup, because the Angels lineup, they all want to be the star. So I think the Dodgers could pull it out. We're saving the best for last. So we all know that Seattle's and 49ers are in the same division. Who has a better chance for a championship? Nick?
I'm actually going to say the 49ers, which might be a little controversial. I think Seattle's kind of satisfied. I know there's always the controversy about, and Seattle's a young team, so they're really the most likely to make it farther than more teams in the past have. But the 49ers have a really good quarterback, Colin Kaepernick. They have a good defense. They've got wide receivers. I mean, I think they'll meet again in the NFC Championship, and I just think Crabtree may Moss Sherman get revenge on him a little bit. But that'll be a fun matchup to watch, and it'll be definitely a great game, and I'm excited to see it.
What about you?
I agree with you that the 49ers are actually my pick to win the Super Bowl this year, just in general. And I think they're a good team. They've been to the championships games a couple times, and their champion always has a chip on their shoulder. And the Niners, that's what the Seahawks have. So yeah, the Niners have the better chance. Back to you, Chobes.
Well, Seattle beat the Broncos, and the Broncos beat the 49ers, but Seattle blew them out. So Seattle's gonna win it with the great defense they have, the young team they have, the Russell Wilson throwing at his accuracy, the pocket passing, the running game, the tackling game. Don't interrupt Chubbs. And the whole team works together to lead to perfection. So I don't think Seattle's going to win it, but I think they're going to beat the 49ers. That's it for West Coast Sports Show. So thank you for tuning in, and bye. Hello, this is Justin Borsis, along with
Liam Gentile
and Louis Schmidt, and this is American Sports.
All right, we got a couple topics here. The first one is A's or Angels. Who are you picking?
Something's telling me not to pick against the A's. And pitching and defense win titles, and they have a great pitching staff. And I would not pick against them. So that's my pick.
What do you think?
Well, being kind of an Angels fan, I would have to go with the Angels to an extent, because while the A's have that, the Angels have that too. And since Pujols is becoming out of his slump, he's generated more offense, and but I could also see the A's or Angels getting swept before the wild card.
All right, I'm going to have to say if it's going to come down to pitching, it's going to be the A's. The addition of Lester is going to be huge, and they have such a deep bullpen, and I think that'll win it for them. Our next topic is who is going to be the NFL sleeper this year.
You know what? The Steelers are looking really good to me. They are getting older, but their defense is still there to me, and they got Roethlisberger, and he can play. So, yeah, that would be my sleeper.
I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. The reason why, they have Eric Berry, who's an amazing defensive player, Tamba Ali, who has proved himself many times on that defensive line. They have Donnie Avery and Dwayne Bowe as wide receivers who can catch the ball whenever it's thrown to him. And then when the defenses start getting used to that, he can just Alex Smith can just hand it off to Jamal Charles, fantasy leading rusher. It's going to be an interesting year for him. What do you think?
The Seattle Seahawks, not because I'm a fan, but because of their run last year, and they look like they're a type of club that can do it multiple years to come. And I just don't see Russell Wilson becoming old.
All right. Next topic is the AL wild card. What are you thinking of that?
Well, it's very close. The Yankees are doing okay right now, and because they have the added motivation of Jeter retiring, I like how they can be motivated to win that second wild card spot. Toronto looks shaky to me, and the Yankees look like they're trying to, push their way through. So that's who I'm taking.
The first wild card is already set between the Angels or A's. That second spot, Blue Jays, I don't think they're going to hang on to it for the rest of the season. Two teams to watch out for, and I'm not being biased. Mariners, they're adding some new players, and then Corey Kluber in Cleveland. I think he's performing really well. He needs some people to back him up, but I think he's an amazing pitcher. The lineup is a little bit shaky, but I think that they can pull that one out.
My pick is the Tigers, either for a wild card or just going to the playoffs, because they have more than enough pitching now with David Price, and they have a lot of hitting, and I think their manager is more than capable even on his first season.
I think we have time for a caller.
Yeah, guys. This is Aaron from Culver City. I was wondering, as opposed to the MLB, on the NL East, who do you think is going to come out of that division? Is there going to be just a division title, or is there going to be a wild card as well in that division? What do you guys think?
Well, to win the division, I would take the Nats. Atlanta strikes out way too much. There's no way, to me, that they can be able to win the division with all those strikeouts. If you look at the wild card, I wouldn't sleep on the Marlins. Even though they're 7.5, 8 games back, they play great at home this year, and I would watch out for them. So.
Yeah, I think to take the division itself, I'm going to have to go with the Nationals. I don't think the Braves can push them out. But for the wild card, especially with McCutchen having some problems, I think the Braves might be able to push the Pirates out for the wild card spot. But then, again, not being hometown biased, but you can't sleep on the Reds. They're 4 games behind, but they have a pretty solid lineup, and their pitchers are going to have to step up a little bit. So I think that's all for American Sports Radio today. Thank you, and tune in later.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Three's a Crowd, along with Brandon Urano and Jake Liker. I'm Noah Friedman. So, guys, today we're going to talk about the NFC West. Top to bottom, it's the best division in football right now. Brandon, who's going to win that division?
Well, it's either between the Niners or the Seahawks. We all knew that. All 4 took incredible steps to get better this offseason, sharpening their rock-solid defense, not paying a lot of attention to the offense other than the 49ers. They brought in Stevie Johnson. Vernon Davis is healthy. Carlos Hyde. I see the Niners as the favorite. It's going to be tough. Whoever doesn't take the West is guaranteed the first wild card spot, hands down.
Jake Liker.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, how the divisions work out. In this case, really, you're going 3 months to see who's going to get home field advantage in the playoffs and who isn't. Again, with the best division in the NFL, you're going to have at least 2 playoff teams. In this case, normally I don't like to go with defending Super Bowl champs because you do lose motivation, and that takes a lot of character. But I'm very compelled to take the Seahawks because I'm worried with the cracks in the facade with the 49ers. I think that they're getting a little... I don't know. There seems to be a lot of chemistry issues. I'm worried about this team down the road because they've come so close so many times, and they just never seem to be able to finally just get the job done, whereas Seattle's a much more dynamic team and fantastic when it comes to forcing turnovers as well.
Guys, I like the San Francisco 49ers as well. New stadium, new persona, same head coach in Jim Harbaugh. They got a really good running back this year in the draft in Carlos Hyde. There are no injury concerns now for Michael Crabtree. That's a great thing. Colin Kaepernick just signed a new extension. I don't think money's going to play out for that. I think he'll be the same exact quarterback. He's actually a revolutionary quarterback in that he's a dual threat. He can run, he can pass. He's a great quarterback. And that defense is going to be great, even with the loss of Glenn Dorsey. I know that's a huge loss in that front line, but I think that the San Francisco 49ers will win 13 games this year. Anyways, let's move on now. In the Major League Baseball, the AL West is one of the hottest races right now between the Angels and the A's. Who's going to step up for them? Jake Liker.
Well, you know what they say, defense wins championships, and I think that can certainly apply to baseball. When you have such a stacked rotation as the Oakland A's do, they have 6 starting pitchers at this point that are top 40 in the MLB in terms of ERA. Of course, the recently acquired John Lester, but you've got the core guys as well. Jeff Smartja, Jason Hamill's been struggling a little bit, but luckily, because there's 6 of them, they can swap him out. You have guys like Jesse Chavez in there, and of course, Sonny Gray and Scott Kazmir. That is a fantastic defensive team, and we think of this team's pitching, but you know what? Before they trade Yoenis Cespedes, and still I think at this point, they lead the MLB in runs scored. So this team is dangerous, whether it's behind the plate or if they're thrown at the plate. It's very interesting to see a team that's so dynamic on both aspects of the game.
Brandon?
Well, there's no doubt that the A's are great, but when you talk about defense winning championships, I think that resolves more to football, because in football, a defense can actually score your points. I disagree. They traded away Cespedes, who was, a great hitter, not their best, but a good part of the offense. There's just no fear anymore in that lineup. You have guys that you hope can do well, not guys that you know can do well. Yes, the pitching's fantastic, but you look at the A's, they have just a plethora of weapons they can use. Yes, Mike Trout. Yes, Albert Pujols. But Josh Hamilton's having a great year too. Their pitching is the only thing that does concern me. I wish they would have made a shot at Lester, a shot at David Price, something, and they didn't. I think that's where they fall short. I definitely think both teams will be in the playoffs, undoubtedly. Either one in the wild card and then one in the West, hands down.
I think that as well, the Angels are going to take this division because they're catching up with the A's. The A's have blown this lead. I mean, they had like a 7-game lead back in May, June. And with the trade of Cespedes, they really have no fear in that lineup, like you said. The only guy I would fear in that lineup is third baseman Josh Donaldson. He's that guy who will hit 20 home runs and give you 75 RBI. We talk about pitching. Pitching wins championships, in the month of October. The A's, if they don't win this division, I don't think they get out of the AL. I don't think they go to the World Series. But pitching is definitely a key, and the Angels really need to work on that. But with the addition of Houston Street before the trade deadline, I think that was a lockdown thing right there. So anyways, we're going to wrap up the show here. For Three's a Crowd, Brandon Urano, Jake Liker, Noah Friedman signing off.
Hello, we're the Three Stooges on 570 AM. I'm Borna Nazaria. This is Ami Nelson, and this is Jake Goodman. And this show is sponsored by
Eye drops. We know what you're using them for. Eye drops.
We have 3 main topics today: MLB World Series predictions, NBA Finals predictions, and will the Los Angeles Lakers make the playoffs? So first, we're going to start with MLB World Series predictions. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know the Angels are doing pretty good. Mike Scioscia has a plan. He has a good lineup. Eric Aybar, Albert Pujols, Mike Trout, the monster Josh Hamilton. I think they're going to do it, and maybe even the A's, because, they had that game lead about 7 or 8 in June. But they are catching up, so I believe it might be the A's against the Angels.
I think it's the Detroit Tigers. Honestly, they have such a deep lineup, starting with Rajai Davis, then Ian Kinsler, Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Torrey Hunter. They have such a deep lineup, and they have the possibility to be the best rotation in the MLB. You have David Price, Justin Verlander, Anibal Sanchez, Max Scherzer, and Rick Porcello. I mean, I don't know what Leland's going to choose for that 4-man rotation in the postseason, but I would not want to choose, and I think that they're going to make it to the World Series and take it all.
In my opinion, I think the Dodgers are going to come out of the NL and the Tigers are going to come out of the AL just because of their pitching staffs. I feel like staffs could carry a team all the way. The Tigers, with their newly acquired David Price, still have Max Scherzer, and even though Verlander's kind of having an off year, he's still Justin Verlander. And of course, the Dodgers have Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, and Josh Beckett's not having a bad year. He threw a good no-hitter. So, going to our next topic, NBA Finals predictions. So, Jake, who do you think's going to win it all?
Well, I know it's not the Heat because right when James left, Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, they just fell apart. And now even Ray Allen's trying to join the Cleveland Cavaliers to be with James. So you know they're all falling apart. The big three are no more. The Heat are out of it. So it might be Cleveland and maybe even the Bulls or Lakers. Because the Lakers, they have Carlos Boozer, Jeremy Lin, Julius Randle, Kobe Bryant, and many more, so they probably have a little chance.
I think it's going to be the Cavs. Honestly, you have Kyrie Irving, you have Kevin Love, you have LeBron James. They have all the momentum from LeBron coming back. I think they're going to take it all.
One thing you guys are forgetting are the San Antonio Spurs. A couple hours ago, they just newly acquired the WNBA player as their new assistant coach, which is one of the first female coaches in history. And I believe, even though the Spurs are 1 year older, they're still the San Antonio Spurs. Pop is still coaching. They're great passers, Boris Diaw. But then again, the Cleveland Cavaliers have LeBron James, best player in the world. And now they're probably going to get Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, the new big three. And that's going to boost the economy of Akron, Ohio. Last topic for you guys today. Do you think the Los Angeles Lakers have a shot of making the NBA playoffs?
Well, like I said before, they have a kind of okay lineup. They have Boozer, they have Lynn, they have Julius Randle. They have a kind of a fierce team, but Kobe and Nash, they're getting way past their age of playing. I mean, Kobe, he barely played any games last year. I don't think he's going to be able to cut it.
We have a caller coming in.
Hi guys, this is Aaron from Santa Monica. I was wondering, which team made the biggest off-season addition this past off-season? Which trade or which signing did you like?
Of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavaliers got LeBron James, best player in the world, and they're probably going to get two big deals because right now they're going to send their number 1 overall pick, Andrew Wiggins, for Kevin Love from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it is confirmed because even though Wiggins signed a 30-day contract and cannot be traded, they had a silent handshake. What do you think, Ami?
I think it's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers because they got that guy.
Oh yeah, I had to agree with you. LeBron James, he's the fiercest, probably the most best player in the NBA right now. He can dunk, he can shoot. He's almost better than Kobe right now since Kobe's out of his spotlight, and so is Nash. So I believe James and Cavaliers will have a chance at the NBA title.
And going back to the Lakers thing about making the playoffs, I believe that they will not make the playoffs. They'll probably finish 10th in the West and go around 40-42. Because I believe if they were in the East, they would get in, but the West is too good with the Rockets, even the Suns coming up, the Spurs, and the Thunder. But that will wrap it up today. We are the Three Stooges. I'm Borden Nazari. This is Ami Nelson, and this is Jake Goodman. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I'm Aubrey Dabbs, here with Gabby Rivas and Caroline Lynch on Sports Chatter. We've got 3 major topics for you today. First, we're going to have Ray Rice story. And then we're also going to be talking about Becky Hammon becoming the first female assistant coach in the NBA. And hopefully we'll get time for Michael Wacha returning to the Cardinals. We are sponsored by Allstate. Are you in good hands? So, Gabby, what do you think about Ray Rice and his suspension?
I think that his actions were inexcusable. He should have got a longer suspension for what he did. I mean, obviously we don't know exactly what he did, but by the looks of it, we can kind of tell, and I think it needs to be a whole year that he's sitting on the bench.
I agree. I mean, obviously we don't know what actually happened in the elevator, but it could be really, really bad. And, I mean, you see him dragging her out, and it should be way, way longer than 2 games, a year at best.
I know. I mean, the Bears, they're suspending their tight end, Martellus Bennett, indefinitely just for fighting with rookie Kyle Fuller in practice. Whereas this guy, he beats up his girlfriend or fiance, whatever the heck she is.
And he's already coming off a career worst season, which he averaged 3.1 yards per carry. So it's going to be hard for him to come back after this incident.
Yeah, and so since we're on the topic, females and kind of female rights a little bit, we've got the first assistant female coach in the NBA going to the San Antonio Spurs. What do you think about that?
I think it's great for female. It's kind of a great role model, and I think it'll just be open up more doors for women in the NBA coaching, and coaching wise, because there's so many males and they need more women in the field.
Yeah, how about you? I mean, the coach was asked whether or not women are able to coach a man or a male team. What do you think, Gabby?
I think that it doesn't matter what gender you are, as long as you know your stuff, you can do whatever you want to.
That is a good point, and that's kind of what Popovich said. He said, I don't see why not. There shouldn't be any limitations. So,
We have a caller.
This is Aaron Siegel Eisman from Culver City. I was wondering, do the Spurs, now with this new addition and with their lineup they have already, do they have a good chance of repeating their NBA title this year? What do you guys think?
What do you think?
Go ahead.
I don't know how it'll affect them, but I think it might improve them. It's just the players. It's kind of their job. They can't focus too much on having a female in there. They should just play like they should play.
And she might be able to give them a new perspective that the guy can't. So.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry about that. But I agree totally. I mean, this woman, she is a 6-time WNBA All-Star. She has spent the last 8 seasons. Oh, just kidding. Nope, yeah, just kidding again. She's spent the last 8 seasons with the San Antonio Stars. My bad, I misread that. I thought I was reading something wrong. She's their all-time leader in assists and 3-point field goals made. I mean, this girl, she's amazing in the WNBA. So obviously she's doing something right, and she's going to be able to help out this team. So, now let's... Huh?
Commercial break.
We have got a quick commercial break.
What?
All safe stand. Are you in good hands? And we're back. We're back with the Michael Wacha story. So, he's been out since mid-June with a stress reaction in his right shoulder. And, St. Louis Cardinals are hoping that he's able to come back. He's their right-hander who keyed the Cardinals' run to the World Series in 2013. So, do you think that he should come back this fast? He just got hurt in mid-June.
I think if it's hurting him, he should stop. Obviously, if he keeps pitching so many games, it'll make his arm worse. But yeah.
True. But I mean, he got it examined. The swelling's gone down. He's pretty much fit for the rest of the season.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
I guess so. Well, thanks for tuning in to Sports Chatter. See you all next time.
Hello and welcome to the Coast to Coast Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Schnell, alongside Ian Martin and Isaac Glasser. We're talking about NFL, and specifically, I think we're talking about quarterbacks. I think we got a caller on the line. Brandon, I think.
Yeah, this is Brandon from Palo Alto. Just had a quick question for you guys. Who are your top 5 young quarterbacks in this league with now this whole league going into a passing league and everything, moving away from the running back? Who would be your top 5 young quarterbacks?
Isaac?
All right, I'll go first. In no particular order because I don't want to go through the trouble of ordering them. I think you got to have Luck and Wilson in there. Those are definitely 2 of the top 5 coming off the seasons that they did, each leading their teams to playoff wins for Wilson having the Super Bowl. I think Cam is up there. He might be 4 or 5, but he's in the top 5 for me. Dalton gets close. I'm not going to put Dalton in the top 5. I'm actually going to put Kaepernick in the top 5. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, even from a Seahawks fan. I think that what he's done with the Niners has been pretty impressive with coming in there and not even being the starter when he got to the Niners. And then Nick Foles, who is actually in only like his 3rd season in the NFL, and it'll be interesting to see if he can have the same success this next season that he had last season. But I think that if he does, that he'll be considered as one of the top young quarterbacks in the NFL. Ian,
out of all these QBs, I would pick Russell Wilson as second best QB. You don't see him throwing up the stats Andrew Luck does, but he has the intangibles that are right up there with Andrew Luck and some of these other great quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning even. Andrew Luck is a very special QB. He throws for so many yards. The offense is built around him. If Andrew Luck isn't in Indianapolis, I think this team is still a 2-14, 3-13 team. Andrew Luck is such a good young quarterback. He's really brought the Colts together and turned it into not Peyton Manning's team anymore. It's Andrew Luck's team. And you got to throw Colin Kaepernick in there. After going to 3 straight NFC Championships games and going to 1 Super Bowl, that's still really impressive as a young QB, even if you don't win it. And then I would throw Andy Dalton in there. As much as I hate to say it, and how he hasn't won a playoff game yet, I really do think he's a good QB.
I think you guys are forgetting one guy, and that's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in this league, and that's Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is one of the most underrated. If he had the O-line that a team like San Francisco has, or a team like, let's say, Baltimore from a couple of years ago, if he had that type of O-line, then, Tannehill would be a very good quarterback, but in no particular order, Cam Newton, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in this league. I don't think we have a big enough sample size of Nick Foles to say that he's a top 5 quarterback in young players yet. But, Luck, Cap, Wilson, Cam, Tannehill, top 5 young quarterbacks for me.
Well, the interesting thing
seems that we have a caller.
Hi, this is Aaron from Long Beach. I was wondering, what are your guys' thoughts on Andy Dalton's new deal he just signed, and can he up his level of those young quarterbacks from on your list in this next upcoming season?
Andy Dalton, I see Andy Dalton growing up to be Tony Romo, QB who can put up numbers in the regular season, who can get his team wins, but just can't get it done in the playoffs. I'm not super happy with this deal. It makes him one of the top paid quarterbacks in all of football, one of the top paid players for that matter. I would much rather see a 3 or 4 year deal, a shorter deal with maybe a little more incentives in it, maybe not as much guaranteed. But I'm just not a huge fan of the deal. What do you guys think
Well,
about
what
that?
I actually saw is that yesterday I noticed that there were the rumors about the deal that it was 6 years, 115. It might actually be less. It might be more closer to in the 90s. Not as much as people initially reported. Initially, they were reporting what a pretty gracious estimate of what the deal was. So I don't think it's quite as much as people think it is. But it's still a pretty big deal for a quarterback who's statistically been pretty good in the regular season, but who has an 0-3 postseason record with 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions.
The Bengals really needed him in a long-term deal because quarterbacks like Andy Dalton are really tough to come by in this day and age in the NFL and in college football too. Anyway, this has been the Coast to Coast Show. For Ian Martin and Isaac Glasser, I'm Jeremy Chanel. Thanks for listening.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Red Light Sports Show. I'm Zach Ferber, along with my partner
Jordan Hunter,
Isaiah Hooper,
and we're gonna be talking about Masahiro Tanaka pitching for the first time since his injury. We're gonna have some football, Johnny Manziel, Hoyer news, Ryan Hoyer, and Xavi
That's
Hernandez retiring from the Spaniards. All right, let's start with Masahiro Tanaka. Tanaka, he threw off the mound for the first time since his Tommy John scare. It's been since early July since we've seen him throw off the mound. He all smiles, and it's just another step for the Yankees to reclaim that top spot in the American League. And it's also good for Major League Baseball to see not another pitcher going down to Tommy John, but him avoiding the way just to get out of the surgery. I know, Isaiah, you're looking at that a little bit. Tanaka getting out of the Tommy John scare. What do you think? You think he's going to avoid the surgery? He's going to come back maybe next season. You think he's going to come back next season for that?
It's really hard to avoid surgeries when you need them, but I think it is possible that he would come back because I think it'd be really in his best interest to come back for everyone.
Absolutely, Jordan. What do you think about that, Jordan?
I think, next season would probably be the safer bet, but if they want to try and maybe make a last minute, towards the end of the season playoff push, he probably could come back this year.
Absolutely. Well, we wish the Yankees and Masahiro Tanaka some good luck as he avoids the Tommy John route.
Yeah.
Well, we got some Cleveland Brown news. What you got going over there, Jordan?
Well, it's reported today that Brian Hoyer is back with the starters here on Tuesday because Manziel took starter snaps yesterday, and they said Patine wanted to give Manziel a fair shot at the starting role, even though Hoyer still has a firm grasp on it. We have a caller.
Yeah, I have a quick question for you guys. Who do you think would be the best rookie quarterback? For me personally, I like Teddy Bridgewater. I was a big fan of his pre-draft, and I thought he got really disrespected being picked 32nd. You guys like Manziel? Do you guys think Bortles will actually play this year, even though the Jags say he won't? What are you guys' takes on that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. With the rookies, none of them are being handed a starting role first out of the gate. So with a guy like Manziel, he's coming already behind Hoyer. I don't think he'll start week 1. I think preseason will be big for him. I think the coach will really evaluate his preseason and see, how he plays and if he can play the same way as he does in practice in the game. And then with a guy like Bortles, who, right after they drafted him, they said he wasn't going to play this year. They'll try to keep him out of playing and play Chad Henne. So unless Chad Henne gets hurt, I think Bortles will stay on the bench. And then with last but not least, Bridgewater, he probably has the best chance of starting week 1. I think he's already ahead of Ponder. All he has to do is have good practices and a good preseason, and he can beat out Matt Castle. What do you think?
I think I really wish Bortles was playing. This guy is just a prototypical quarterback. He's big and he has all the right tools. But since he's probably not going to play, Manziel would definitely be the better quarterback than Bridgewater. I don't think Bridgewater has all the tools that Manziel has. Manziel is more explosive. He has more energy. So I really think Manziel will be the better quarterback over Bridgewater.
Short and simple, Manziel.
Yeah.
All right. Football news. Xavi Hernandez retiring from the
That's right. He has
Spanish
announced
team.
his retirement. He is 34 years old, and this is really heartbreak for all Spanish fans, especially after this bad loss for them this year.
in the World
But
Cup.
he said, and I quote, "I was going to retire after Euro 2012 with the head coach Vicente Del Bosque, and he persuaded him to stay on to go to Barcelona, which was, of course, a huge disappointment for everyone individually."
Well, it's tough to see that happen. Such a great midfielder, such class. Well, for Isaiah, Jordan, I'm Zach Ferber. Thank you for listening to the Red Light Sports Show, and we hope to hear you come again.